Rockford and Belvedere cities will be a new center for international trade and investment activity as Capital Warehousing partners with Foreign Trade Zone. Foreign Trade Zone, or FTZ, is a program of the Greater Rockford Airport Authority, which is a logistics program that allows companies to streamline its global supply chain by deferring their import taxes and fees. Leaders say as the region sees more activity and companies have significant imports, FTZ can improve those companies' cash flow by better managing their import process.
New companies can, whether it's Stellantis or maybe other companies, they can all equally access the 3PL FTZ warehousing services and capital warehousing. So it could just play a role in overall resources that are available in our region to companies that are operating globally.